Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Panel Beaters, another exciting episport of this motorsport-only program brought to you by Big Pond Wear at Oran Park, Round 8 of the V8 Supercar Championship for 2005, and very much looking forward to another weekend of activity. It's time to welcome our special guests and co-presenters for the evening. Welcome, Gregory Rust.
Can I have an episport? What's an episport?
What?
You said episport.
Yeah. It's episode.
Episode. We're only winding you up.
Did I really?
Yeah.
You did. Welcome to this episport.
And the great thing is you'll be able to download this later and have a look at it. And,
because we're going to talk about podcasting, but now you've rattled my cage. Episport, geez, I have completely lost
What's on the show, Neil?
Well, he's not going to be next week.
Introduce me.
Oh.
It's already
Go on.
started.
You can row your own boat.
Hi, I'm Brad Jones. Welcome to the Panel Beaters. I'll be featuring my two...
Say Episport?
Episport,
Oh,
did.
no, Steve's confirmed it. See, I don't trust either of you two idiots. But, okay, we'll do that again.
Show's
Welcome
going
to Panel
well.
Beaters. This is round 8 of the championship, brought to you by Big Pond. It's Friday. These idiots with me. But more importantly, I've got a couple of special guests with us, Ross Stone and Jason Bargwanna. Welcome to the program, gents. You're a couple of sensible characters.
Thanks, Cromley. Yeah, it's good to be here.
Nice to have you here, Ross.
Yeah, thanks, Neil. I never follow a driver when I talk, so I'll keep quiet here.
We know that you're economic with your words, Ross, so we appreciate the fact you've taken time out to join us for this evening. There's a bit going on in your world at the moment. It's an important round for everybody this weekend because we've reached that second half of the championship. We're on the eve of the endurance races. It's still a critical battle in terms of the points. If you look at the point score at the moment, in fact, I made comment just in the last couple of weeks, it's really tight at the top. There's not much between anybody. No one, even though the fact that your team and your key driver are leading the championship, no one's really got a stranglehold on this thing at this point, have they? And we're going into a couple of very important races.
Yeah, well, originally Queensland was going to be a critical round, and I guess it was, but there wasn't nobody gapped anybody on points because everybody sort of kept on trucking on, and or most of the main championship runners, if you like, they all got good points, and it sort of was all status quo. There was hardly any movement. And now I guess we come on here, it's another important round because if you have a failure in one race, you've only got the other race to try and get some sort of points together. So,
Hey, Ross, in the middle of that race, when the fuel window opened, there's a few teams, and the two DJR cars are quite noticeable, that came in and pitted, went a lap down, and then ran for 10 or 15 laps or whatever it was till the caution came out and the other boys pitted and they went back. Did you guys, I mean, I know they weren't really dicing with you too much there, but do you find that a bit of a surprising manoeuvre that you'd put yourself in a position where you could end up going a lap down?
Yeah, well, I guess there was a few funny strategy calls there, and I was surprised, but anyway, they recovered and they were okay, but we had a bit of a conservative approach with Ambrose's car.
Yeah, you went for 4 tyres and not 2.
Yeah, and as we called that sort of like a championship decision rather than a race decision. And and it was funny talking about that race. Spoke with Marcus and others that it was like 2 races because the first 25 laps, I'm not sure what you found, Brad, but the first 25 laps our cars were quite quick, and then the track actually changed a bit, and so then Lowndes' car came on and ours was still okay, but it wasn't as strong as his. He had a good package.
Do you think that reflected a tweak in the stop for Craig? I mean, did they make a little roll centre adjustment or something else, maybe a tyre pressure adjustment or something, and just improve that car, or do you feel that was the track that changed? Either of you got a view on that?
I got a bit of a... Oh, sorry, Bart.
No, you're right. No, you, Brad, go for it.
I think that with the tyres, I think with Craig just putting 2 rears on the car...
You ask Ross and Jason, you get an answer from Brad.
Thanks for coming, guys. It's fantastic to have you.
Yeah. I have a
keep going, Brad, please.
Yeah.
No,
Listen,
please.
Neil,
what was the word that I used?
Yeah.
Episport.
Episport. You won't be repressing me, pal.
Yeah, I'm going to try. Get on with it. I haven't even introduced you yet, you moron.
So what are your thoughts on it? Let's get to the point.
Well, I think the track did change a little bit, but I wouldn't be surprised if the fact that you put 4 tyres on the car more so than a huge change in the track, because I think the inconsistency from set to set is something that can play tricks with the car from time to time. Would you agree with that?
No,
You wouldn't?
No, we haven't found...
That was Ross Stone. We'd like to thank you for tuning into the show.
We haven't found that too much, but we feel it was more a track thing, more a track issue.
Really?
Yep.
Yeah, it's more to do with the inconsistency of your car than it is any other issue, Bradley.
Yeah.
We've hardly spoken to Bargs here. Welcome to the program. We'll sort of do it formally now, mate.
I'm just sitting
That's
back
the
waiting.
third time you've introduced
Yeah, well, I
him.
want to sort of get a whole kind of up vibe and get a bit of focus on him because every time I go to ask him something, you answer.
Is it okay to answer, Brad?
Let's talk about your strategy at Queensland Raceway.
Yeah, that's a great idea. No, interesting you notice those cars that went a lap down. We're in exactly the same position due to putting ourselves... We missed that first window with that safety car. And it was just sheer luck that those cars actually got back onto the lead lap because Tim obviously decided not to send the safety car out straight away.
Yeah.
And he waited for the leader to come down pit lane and then sent the safety car out. So those cars that went a lap down, which included us, it was just lucky that we...
Absolutely lucky.
Yeah, and sitting back in hindsight, you can look at that situation and say, look, that was just a really silly position to put yourself in. So.
What's happened pace-wise with you guys in the recent past, Barks? It looked to me... it's always difficult from the outside trying to make a guess as to what's going on in race teams, but it looked to me as though you're a bit stronger in the early part of the year. Just in the recent past, it's been a bit tough. Is that a fair assessment?
Yeah, we haven't really tested since early in the season. And certainly at Queensland, our race pace was pretty good. We were able to keep with the lead cars. We stayed that lead bunch. Probably not the first 3 or 4 cars, but certainly the next group. But the strategy, we just put ourselves in a position where there was no result to be had. I mean, at Darwin, the cars were quick. And involved in every little incident that happened on the day. So hopefully this weekend we can run the cars in that front group again, although we're still struggling with that first 3 or 4 cars, really.
Will you test again before Sandown and Bathurst?
Yeah, we've got a plan to try and get some miles in before Sandown. So with the endurance drivers, they've got to get a bit of a run in the cars. So hopefully we'll get a bit of a run before Sandown, which will give us a chance to try a couple of things and see if we can bridge that gap.
One of the things that puzzles me a little bit, it must be hard for you guys, is that given the changing nature of Queensland Raceway, it's getting bumpier in a couple of places and it does seem to have this personality in different zones during the day, which is obviously a temperature or a wind related thing. Do you think that is a disadvantage, for want of a better description, in terms of getting value out of the very few days that you have, and there are only 6 days that are available every calendar year for V8 Supercar testing? Does that put you at a disadvantage, do you feel? In other words, the window of usability in the track is narrow because you get these weird results at different times of the day.
Yeah, I've got to tell you, when we test at Queensland Raceway, we continually doing temperatures, both track and ambient, and there's, we call from 4 to 5 the happy hour there because the track's always quickest at that time of the day. And then at between 5 and 5:30, if you really want to go home feeling good and put a good time on the board, that's when you do it. But you've just got to use your base time that you put in at a certain time of the day. That's what we do, and we don't worry too much about what anybody else is doing.
Barg's boss, Mark Larkham, is obviously one of your clients now, and so is Triple Eight. What has that been like for the business of Stone Brothers Racing? Expanding to look after clients in some respects as far as engines are concerned, and how's all that going?
Yeah, it's going pretty good. The engine shop's set up in a separate building in the industrial estate that we are. It's around the corner, so it's what we call lockdown. So none of our race team guys can actually go there without an invitation. So that's how it operates.
Do you have people on race weekend that actually go down and make sure your clients are okay and things like that? Yeah.
Well, we have we have agreements that have all been approved for by TIGA, and all the people are employed by the engine shop. But this weekend at Triple Eight is Kenny McNamara. He's on the engine shop team, but he comes in Triple Eight uniform and looks after and services the engines
purely for them.
Yeah,
okay.
and then there's Matt Holliday in the
guys,
in the Oran team. Yeah.
Okay. How have you found it? Sorry.
Oh, it's good. I mean, he's just like one of our team. I mean, he stays with us, he eats with us, he does everything we do. So it's just like being a team member. When he goes to put the engines together, he obviously doesn't do it on our premises. He goes up the road to where the engine shop is. So it seems to work really well.
And is that working for you, Ross, from a business standpoint, moving people around, budgeting, equipment, supplies, what have you? Because it's not as simple as just, I'll do some engines for somebody else. You've got to be able to continually keep the stuff coming through that supports it, because there are 1,001 components in a V8 Supercar engine and other ancillary equipment that's peculiar to the way in which you build and do the install on a race car. I mean, has it caused headaches, or has it been a good exercise?
No, it's been a pretty seamless sort of transition, if you like, to move that around there and do the other teams. But I think that's mainly because there's such good people there, and we have Chris Everhard, who I've known for a long time. He manages that business, and it just and there's good teamwork, there's good team morale there, and they all work good together. And
was that decision taken as a business decision? In other words, that division of your operation is a profit centre, or was that done in some way to strengthen what you're doing with your motor racing? So was it a business or a sporting decision, or both?
No, it was a business decision. We weren't. At the end of the day, we're in it to try and win races. We haven't got to the stage where we want to buy a boat or anything else. We still got races we want to win, if you like. Not that there's nothing against that. But
nothing against having a boat.
if you're watching Dick, all the best out there in the harbour.
Yeah, hope you're catching something.
Yeah.
I certainly
plenty of snapper around.
You can't wind back time, but I certainly didn't mean that. But it was done in simplistic terms. The engine dyno that we had was probably one of the oldest engine dynos that was in V8 racing. It was a dyno I'd bought second-hand in Melbourne in 1996, and the boys were on my back to update it and that, and I'm looking at what else was needed to lift our engine development and our engine specs to the next level, and I just couldn't afford. I just couldn't see the funds there for us to do it on our own, and so by doing this, it's economies of scale, and it's allowed us to get new equipment, and it also allows us to do a lot more work in house than perhaps some of the other teams. And
it protects your intellectual property, things that you obviously have developed over a period of time in the way in which your business works. You retain, you grow, and you retain as your own. How many people, and you don't have to answer this to the absolute number, but in broad terms, Stone Brothers Racing now, the race team and the engine shop, how many people does that encompass?
Well, there's 53 altogether now.
A lot of people, isn't
it?
Wow.
Yeah. That includes. I include drivers in that because they always want to be paid. So
can't imagine that.
What's wrong with that?
When Roland came and spoke to you about doing a deal, did that surprise you?
No, not really. You've just got to have a look at even some of the American teams, that how they've actually, for economies of scale over there, and their budgets are huge. In NASCAR in particular, and you can just see how it works over there, and it's just at the end of the day, it's just the right thing to do. It's a sort of, for a start, it being a traditional and probably a bit older of the people in the pit road, that you've always, if you get an advantage, you try and hold on to it. But in this case, to move forward, you actually have to share your technology, if you like, and it's an open book thing that Lowndes' engines are the same as Ambrose's, Ingles are as Ellery's, etc.
Are you over all the questioning from the media about who is going to take Marcus's seat next year?
Oh, I never worry about it too much.
Don't you?
No.
Huh?
No.
When will you make a decision, do you reckon?
Oh, when we're ready, we never rush into things.
I wasn't going to go there, Ross, because having been involved in these things before, the fact of the matter is that this bloke over here is running a business, and that's privileged business information, and he'll make his mind up together with his partner brother, and they'll figure it out, and they'll let us know when they're ready.
But thanks for asking, Rusty.
Meantime, everybody else can guess all day long, and that's pretty much how it works.
Bugs, what about you for 06? What's happening for 2006?
Going to be out there trying to win races. I mean, that's the policy we're going to adapt, obviously. This year hasn't been exactly what we would set as the goals we haven't achieved, and coming off the back of last year was obviously quite strong for us, and we just haven't really moved forward. In saying that, though, we've been faster at every single circuit this year than what we were last year, and by this time last year I think we'd had 5 or 6 top 10 starting positions. And this year you've moved back 6 or 7 spots on the grid, so
Bugs,
we're looking to step back up again.
What do you reckon that jump up has been? I mean, every year everybody in the business always talks about it being tougher and tougher and more pressure intensive. What sort of a leap up has it been, do you think, in, say, 12 months? You've been faster at every circuit. Is that across the board? Ross might have a view on this as well. Everyone's a couple of tenths quicker, or is it 1/10, or is it 4 tenths? Or what do you reckon that is?
The front guys are really much faster at all. It's
pole
it's the people that are trying to. Yeah, it's the
so
people
you
that are trying
guys
to
have
catch
stepped
up,
but it hasn't put you where you wanted to be. You're
saying
the mid grids.
The mid grid has
it's
got
just moved
closer
up,
to the front. I think so.
It's just
we're in the same.
even more.
We're in the same position. You go at 10th. JB was in the top 10. 70% of the time last year, hasn't been in once, and we're going faster at every race. So what Bugs is saying is very true. You know, the midsection have lifted their game.
Now, I was just going to say, we want to say good day to the podcasters.
Yeah,
as
we
far
want
as
to say
the
good
program is concerned. You
can relive that fantastic intro of mine. When you podcast, do you want to go through all that? Do you know how all that works?
Well, you can go through it in a second, but I also want to invite people to be a part of the show. Panelbeaters@bigpond.com. We've got lots of email coming in already. We want to play Where Are They Now very shortly, and a Who Am I as well. I'm going to have a bit of fun. We've got some tickets, some passes to give away to Sandown in a few weeks' time, first of the big Enduros. Tell us about podcasting.
Glad you asked me that question, Gregory. You can go to the V8 Supercar website, and if you trace your way through the Panel Beaters program, you'll see an option there for podcasting. I'm sure some of you have discovered it already, and if you're an Apple iTunes or iPod user, you'll know precisely how this works, but basically you can download the program. There's a whole directory in there that enables you to go through the programs at your leisure, dating back to the second or third round. Now, if you're on Apple iTunes, you just open the iTunes program. You click on the podcasting in the source menu down the left-hand side. In the podcasting directory, you search for Big Pond V8 Supercar Panel Beaters, and you download the show, and then you can play it to your heart's content on your little plastic box of tricks.
Plenty of people are doing it.
Your iPod.
And if you're fortunate enough to ever get an invitation for a meal to Neil's place, he just has it going through the stereo through the whole room the whole time you're eating.
Yeah, we just do
me, warming up his voice.
24 hours a day, Panel Beaters. Hey, Ross, I wanted to ask the question because people ask me when I sort of wander around on the road, talking motorsport 8 days a week, the notion of you splitting your two key drivers, Marcus and Russell, into two cars, and we obviously understand there's different commercial arrangements in place there, but it does seem to raise a few questions out there in motor racing fan land. You know, are you weakening your ability to win that motor race, or is winning it something that's not worrying you so much as trying to stay in a good position for the championship?
Well, I guess there's two schools of thought there. You know, you possibly weaken a potential result, but it didn't look like it weakened Ambrose's result too much at Sandown last year. You know, Greg Ritt had done a good job. We were probably a bit lucky. We squeaked through that one with a little bit of a...
It was a 1-2 as well. It wasn't just the front guys, wasn't it? So
yeah, that's right. And
but does the safety car intervene there? I mean, I'm not being harsh on the other guys, but when you're not a full-time runner in the show, one of the 32 or 34, and we're certainly not being hard on anybody here because everybody around the table understands the intensity of it, but we will get a race at some point where the safety car doesn't let these blokes off the hook, and then that could hurt.
That's absolutely right. It's what Barg said before, that the competition's just so close and there's so many tough nuts in there, if you like, that if you had a flag-to-flag race without safety cars, you know, and that was the way that it was going to go in the future, you know, you'd probably revisit that decision because it's just so tough. You just need so many miles on these cars to get good speed.
The probability is that you're not going to have a race that goes flag to flag.
History shows exactly right.
I think the last time that happened was the very first Adelaide race on the Sunday, and that was
I remember.
Yeah, it was only 42 degrees or something. That was good.
It was hot and bothered. Do the boys run substantially different setups between their cars, their preferences? Is that one of the issues in that, or I mean, was it just no way at any stage you would entertain doing that? You did it a couple of years ago, but you haven't done it recently.
Yeah, we did it, and it didn't work as well as what we liked. And in our team, we believe a lot in having chemistry, you know, between the drivers, between the engineers, and the whole team, if you like. And it just didn't work as well as what we wanted. And so we just decided, and we've been fortunate, you know, with Warren Luff and Luke Yilden. We're confident that we've got two good young blokes there that we can do a good sound job.
Bargs, for you and for the Orcon team, was it ever an option? Was it always going to be, we've got to put our best foot forward, it's going to be myself and Frosty? What was, you know, Mark Winter?
Yeah, I mean, look, realistically, there's no option for us. I mean, the bottom line is we've got to put all our eggs in the one basket and get it right on the day. And if we can do that, there's potential there that the car can run on the podium. But to split Frosty and I up, we probably don't have the depth in terms of our team at the moment to be able to run two cars right at that front all day long. So there's no doubt that it's the best way to go for us.
The second car also will have Matt Halliday, the young Kiwi, and of course you've announced during the week that Alan Menu is coming back, and he's been with Larko before, hasn't he? So
yeah, he has. I think Larko's decided not to drive this year, and obviously Elaine has driven for Larko and with Larko before, so Matt did a great job last year in the car, and it was just a logical fit, and hopefully those two guys will do a very solid job. But you know, the bottom line is Car 10's going to be out there to try and do the best job it can, and that means putting all the eggs in the one basket and putting it on the line and having a go.
Was it tough for Larko to say, I can't do this. I can't just do the one-offs. I can't just do Sandown and Bathurst.
Yeah, and I think he drove last year at Bathurst, and he felt very comfortable driving around 11s and that sort of thing. But when he had to start to try and find a low 10, a high 9, something like that, he really thought, nah, look, it's better for my business if I don't try and do this, because I'm just out of my comfort zone, and especially not being in the car all the time. He really enjoys the driving experience, and there's no doubt about that. But for his business, he's decided it's best if he wears the headphones.
I think the reality is that if you do one or two of these per year, even if you do a bit of testing here or there, it's very, very difficult to be at the Arrowhead, come Sunday race day in either of those two races. You've just got to be... only when you've been out of them and then you go back and get in them again do you realise that that's that last little bit, whatever the percentage may be, that actually becomes elusive, and you kid yourself if you think it's not the case.
I think Larry sort of said that a couple of years ago. He really enjoyed it, but, yeah, the time's come.
Yeah, exactly. Ross, one of the things that's also being obviously speculated about is the relationship that you've had with Mark Winterbottom, and he's obviously in your team at the moment. Do you still have any contractual interest in his racing activities, or is he a free agent now, off with Larko doing his own thing?
No, once he had the opportunity with Larko, we actually gave him a release there and then. So he made his own arrangements, and I sometimes talk with him to see what I can do to help if he's because we have strong interest in how he goes.
Were you not tempted to manage him?
No, it's just we're not just in that business really,
But you weren't in the engine business, and you are now.
Certainly not in the boat business.
Yeah. We can strike. Give me that pen. Boat business. Strike that off the list.
Do you have an interest in him? Is he one of the guys that's in the frame, or is he definitely out of the frame in this whole thing?
Well, I guess
5 minutes ago you said you weren't going to talk to me about that.
Yeah.
I'm feeling a lot better about this now, Barks. Keep going, Neil. Fantastic.
You've just decided to go a different route.
No, well, just on him specifically. I'm not going to go through the whole A to Z list, but just on him specifically.
Well, I think it's the old story. If you say, he'd be a good chance or whatever,
people like us blow that out of proportion.
Yeah, start opening it up. So I just what I say to people is go away and make your own list and see what you think you come up with,
There's some interesting lists being generated at the moment.
Congratulations to Fabrizio Barbazza, who will be driving Car 1 next year. Blast from the past. Yeah, what did happen to him?
Who cares? It's being podcast now. People can replay this later on. Gentlemen, thank you very much for coming in and joining us for this evening. Very best of luck to you this weekend, Bargs, in the Oran Ford with Mark Larkham, and Ross, for you, thanks for coming in tonight.
Thanks, Ross.
And good luck with your continued leadership in the championship, and have fun as you play Lucky Dip with your driver picks in the coming months.
Thanks for that.
Thanks boys.
See you, boys.
Is that okay, Brad? I can go now?
Yeah.
No, just wait until we get off air, please.
Oh, right, okay. Just want to check.
Yeah. After you have your authority from Brad, you can stand up and walk away. Meantime, we shall take a break on the panel beaters, and we'll return live to Oran Park right after this.
Welcome back to the panel beaters. We are broadcasting live from Sydney's Oran Park Raceway in the build-up to round 8 of the V8 Supercar Championship Series. Why am I talking? Because they've got a mouthful of red frogs, so they can't bring us back.
I'm okay now.
Emails, lots of them coming through, and we'll get to those shortly. Thank you for that. Panelbeaters@bigpond.com. Keep them coming. We're going to play the Who Am I? We've got some passes to Sandown. Progressively throughout the show, I'm going to reveal a few clues. The first person that can answer the clue, or answer the Who Am I correctly, will win some passes to Sandown. I celebrated a birthday in July.
Greg Rust.
No, that is not the correct answer.
Neil Crompton.
No, it is not Neil Crompton either. More in the show, but now we welcome some special guests. We've had a bit of a pit stop along the way. Steve Owen and Rick Kelly, thanks for joining us, boys.
Welcome,
boys.
How are you? Hey.
That's very nice, isn't it?
Yeah, warm round of applause.
What happened to your sonnies?
Oh, I got embarrassed and put them back on my name.
You don't understand the company you're in. This is a couple of very old-time...
Don't be afraid to do a blatant plug.
Yeah, we're scammers from way back, so get those sonnies out.
We totally understand how that works.
You and I had those same pair of specs, and today I was copping grief on the basis Garth Tander reckon I look like Eric Estrada from Chips, so I've been too scared to wear them ever since.
Yeah, he's been a bit old school. Every time I rock up with a new pair of sunnies or a different pair of shoes, he hounds me all day.
Does he?
Thinks I look like a porn star, which I'd like to, I guess.
Yeah.
Changing sunnies won't fix any of your problems, though, Thrust.
Yeah, thanks. Appreciate that a lot. Yes, there's only so much you can do.
You were talking about Sandown.
Yes.
And Ford's Free Friday for kids at Sandown. That's hard
Great
to spit
initiative.
out legally. So that's a great initiative on the part of Ford. They're going to hand out a bunch of tickets for...
Say that again. Do it with a list.
Ford's Free Friday for kids.
That's the kind of thing they'd
The
teach
better
you at radio
electrical
school.
500.
Really?
Yeah.
Could you do it in Alan
I
Jones?
haven't been to
Can I
radio,
do it
so
for you?
you can do that then. I haven't
Look,
been
I
to
think
radio
it's terrific.
school.
Ford's Free Friday for kids at the Better Electrical Sandown 500. Ford's Free Friday, Brad.
Very nice.
Now let's talk a bit of motor racing. Enough shenanigans for now. Steve Owen, how's the year been at Brytech?
Oh, it's been a learning experience.
Yep.
Yeah, it's always tough when you're taking an empty workshop and then turning it into a sort of V8 Supercar team for 3 cars, a month later. But we're inside the top 32, which was our bare minimum aim at this stage.
Yep.
And we've still got 2 rounds to spare, so we're probably a little bit ahead of schedule on that front. But
Who's outside the top 32? Do you know?
Tratt and Davison.
Yes.
Oh, right, okay.
If you'd asked me that question, I could have answered it for you, Bradley. But you just don't share and seek.
I did ask.
Seek comfort from your colleagues.
We talked about enduro pairings before with our last guest, Ross Stone and Jason Bargwanna. I don't know whether it's been confirmed, but it does seem the most likely scenario, and probably best scenario, is for you and for Matthew White, the regular drivers of the team, to pair up for Sandown and Bathurst.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll probably pair up and use my franchise, which is probably the most vulnerable one at this stage, and put Damien White and Jose Fernandez in the second car.
We probably should just expand on that a little bit and what you mean there, and basically that is that you feel that perhaps I would say that's the 25 car, is too low down the order, and to ensure that from a championship points and
It's
therefore an
guaranteed
entry,
start.
in next season, you've got enough points to get that guaranteed entry that Neil's talking about.
Absolutely, because we had a franchise that was outside the top 32 last year. Unfortunately, we have missed 3 rounds so far, and so that's exactly what you're saying. We really need to guarantee. Worst case scenario, we've got 2 cars in the top 32 next year, so we're starting at the Grand Prix of 2 cars, and we're just not disadvantaged like we have been this year.
You could spin that around at race meetings, couldn't you? Like you could use that one franchise for the Sandown race, and if one car was struggling, Whitey's car, you two could jump in that at the other at Bathurst if you wanted to.
We could.
You cross-ended in that?
That's a good question. I'm not exactly sure, but the main one for us, because it's counted at the end of Sandown, the main one for us is Sandown. Really, as far as I can see it, once you're in the top 32 at the end of Sandown, then those top 32 cars go to 4 rounds, and 2 poor old blokes do 2, and I just can't see anyone getting in the top 32. If you couldn't get in by Sandown, I'd reckon you're out for the rest of the year.
Yeah.
So, and then that
and
really,
the start of the year, you'll be out for the start of the next year, won't you?
That's exactly right. So for us, from a commercial perspective and all that sort of behind the scenes things, it's just so paramount that we have those 2 cars.
How have you enjoyed having a blast around this year? I mean, you punched above your weight on a couple of occasions in endurance races in the last few years, I say, and did a great job. Now you're into the thing on a more frequent basis, and you're out there, you're mixing it up. I mean, I know it's tough when you've got a brand new team and it's a greenfield project, but just you, the driver, just forget about all the commercial crud. Just having a drive in V8 Supercar and doing more of it. You enjoying that?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's obviously what my aim's been for probably about the past 8 years now. So it's a huge relief to get here, but at the same time, it's another stepping stone.
It's another thing again straight after that. Yeah.
I mean, it's one thing to run up the front in the Konica field or to bring it home in the top 10 at the Enduros.
Yeah.
But yeah, like you say, it's another thing to run at the front in a sprint round.
Has it surprised you, the intensity? It's a question I like to ask blokes who've just come in from either another area of the sport or from within what was known as the Konica series and what have you. There always looks to be a bit of a stunned look on their face for a while they come to terms with the intensity of it. Rick probably went through it to some extent as well.
What was that? I just tuned out.
Yeah, but people do that when I talk. Whenever you come into a category like this, if you've come from another area of the sport where you've had some success, and it's not a swagger that you get, but you just think, well, look, I'm competent at what I do. I know I can do it well. Therefore, I should be okay. You get into this category. There are 32 cars at 7/8 of them are quick all the time. It's a bit of a shock to the system, isn't it?
I think a lot of it depends on the equipment you're in as well. No matter how good a driver you are, I think. I mean, from my experiences, especially this year, where we've struggled more so than probably even 2002, which is my debut year in V8 Supercars. Like 2002, I had exceptional equipment. You probably saw me on a couple of occasions, in the 10 and things like that.
We had a good race here a couple of years. That was that year.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And it was quite easy. I thought, 03, let's lift the bar a bit and continually finish in the top 3 time after time. But as soon as you jump in a car that's probably a little bit or not
lacking in some area.
In a lot of areas, then it's much harder. No matter how good you are. Like last year, we won a couple of races and we're consistently finishing in the top 3 and top 5. And this year, I'd like to think that I've improved a little bit, and look where we are. Like, speaking of the top 32, we're lucky to be in it at the moment.
But the thing a lot of people don't understand about motorsport is it's one of the few games where you can't carry, motorbikes. You can drag the bike along a little bit, but when the car's bad, and everyone ultimately ends up in a bad car.
You experience it at least once in your life, perhaps
you do.
More.
Sometimes it takes a long time, but everyone gets into a what's that term you use? Clunker. I was thinking something else, but clunker will do. Someone ends up in a bad car at some stage, and it's that point where you go, Jesus, what's going on here? And sometimes it's, and I guess the measure of the man is being able to work out where your next move is, so you're not doing that, or try and dig yourself out, which isn't always possible.
Thrusty, you had a question?
I wanted to know. I want contrast for us. I mean, you've had some. The team itself, the HSV dealer team, seems to be on the way back up. A very good recent test in the build-up to this round, which has given both you and Garth very good confidence. But if you wind the clock back just a little ways to China, you qualified 32nd. What's been the key thing that's turned around there?
That could happen to anyone over in China. It was a bloody tough qualifying session, wasn't it?
Yeah, but as you described in your last answer, you said you'd been used to being up the front last year. You'd had some wins. You thought this year would be a matter of building on that. Our character building was 32nd in China.
Yeah, it was great. Like when you interviewed me, what do you say? How you going, Rick? I'm looking at the screen thinking, what in the hell do I say now?
What's turned around in that relatively short period of time?
To be honest, it's a whole range of things. I mean, at the start of the year, everyone thought that we're going to be in strife because Kmart had parted with us, so had Greg Murphy and that. And although Greg I think was a big loss to the team, we had Garth coming on board, which was probably a lot different to Greg. He works in a lot of different areas quite differently. So I think it was good to have those changes, and I think that was part of us moving forward. And unfortunately, with the cars we've had and things like that, it had turned out for the worst. And it looks like Greg's left us, Kmart's left us, and the whole thing has fallen in a heap, which it wasn't actually. Those weren't the key factors to us getting bad results, unfortunately. And through the mid part of the year, we'd had a lot of trouble with a few different things, and now we're starting to turn things around. Like in China, even in Queensland, our last round, just little mistakes that are hindering us. Without all the long list of little mistakes we've made within the team, I think we would be okay. So
you tested last week, didn't you?
Yeah. The time I got at Phillip Island, I just still don't know how I got it. To be honest, when we have had these tough times, and now when things do start to come back together again, hopefully we're going to see now some, good results.
So it was a good number you punched out down there.
Yeah.
Do you tell us?
We wouldn't tell anybody.
Yeah, that's all right. Be our secret. Do you and Garth have the cars very different?
To be honest, in the
we'd prefer you were.
Garth has the seat further back.
Well, to be perfectly honest, I really don't know. But I'll make up a story.
Good.
No, we are pretty close. I think Greg and myself last year had a few major differences. Greg generally liked the car a little bit stiffer, whereas both Garth and myself this year, I think, have been pretty similar and tuned ourselves to drive a similar car. I think it's quite good. Even when we train together, our weights and everything is similar. So hopefully at the endurances, we should be able to drive a good car together and be fast.
We've talked with Steve and even our previous guests about enduro pairings, and one that on the radar looks like a pretty solid bet as we get towards Sandown and Bathurst is yourself and Garth, the two of you together for a number of reasons that you've just mentioned. What are your thoughts as you head into Sandown? Do you think that the turnaround in form that you're having, are you going to peak at the right time?
I think so, yeah. I mean, our pairing is certainly going to be very strong. There's probably going to be 3 or 4 pairings out there that are race-winning combinations. The key to Bathurst and Sandown, from what I understand, is not making these little mistakes that, in some cases, our teams made throughout this year. So I think most of those little things are behind us now, and I think we've learnt from them. So provided that we keep moving forward as we are, I think we will probably be very strong. Mark and Todd as well.
One question I wanted to ask you, Steve, is that the guy that's in your other car for these endurance races, Damien White, somebody I've known for a long time because we used to kart together down at his dad's kart track down at Wollongong. Yep. How's he coming to terms with the whole V8 thing? Has he had a couple of tests and is he going all right?
Well, we don't
you
test.
guys aren't allowed to test,
Yeah.
are you?
Oh, of course.
You did though have a. Did you not have a sponsor drive day last week at Eastern
Had a
Credit?
ride, had a ride day Tuesday.
Yeah,
And
would you take one person over and over and over again for?
Yeah,
No, we,
that midget that they found down the pub on Saturday night.
Yeah, we,
Did it have
weighs
a
about
heartbeat?
15 kilos. Yeah.
we ran through Fujitsu and tried to find the smallest receptionist and stuff her into the
Yeah.
file.
Give her a sick bag and send her on her way.
See, I knew that, but it wasn't actually front of mind. So he's got no miles in this thing.
Apart from the ride day on Tuesday, we did for Fujitsu.
You're kidding.
Yeah,
so he's going to
that's
go
it.
into these 2 Enduros with no miles in.
Yeah.
It's been a while since he's driven a V8 too. I mean, you've got to go back to I can't remember who co-drove with him, but
Rod
the
Salmon.
car was
Rod Salmon,
Rod
yep.
Salmon. That's right, with
That's right.
the car prepared by John McLean, wasn't it? So.
Uh-huh.
No,
Thanks, Brad.
he did a good
They're
job.
having a little knowledge off now, these two.
Yeah, he got a chance to do quite a few laps in both cars. And just get a feel for what he liked and what he didn't like, and no, he did a good job. So I think there was a few people who were probably a little bit surprised he'd come, sort of back out of the woodwork, but no, it looked pretty good from the test we did.
Bradley, I thought you were going to fire him with a
Yeah,
question.
No, I was
you,
just...
you breathed like you were going to ask a question.
I was actually thinking Bryce Washington, I would have thought was going to get that drive, but obviously it just didn't work out.
Yeah, I think that was an initial consideration. I mean, he was running a Porsche at one stage from out of our workshop, but with the constant schedule of those things testing, and he'd spent a bit of time in New Zealand, it was a bit hard to actually prepare that in our workshop. So I think that would have been a good choice initially, but then with the testing bans, he'd never driven a V8 at all.
No,
So then
much.
it would have been even a bigger step for him. So
And really, that's the one place that you do need a little bit of experience when you go to, isn't it? Very daunting joint.
We are fortunate enough to have Steve Owen and Rick Kelly with us in the studio as we broadcast live from Oran Park in the build-up to round 8 of the V8 Supercar Championship Series. Keep the emails coming in. Panelbeaters@bigpond.com. Here's one. Do the officials monitor engine horsepower in each car? If so, how does this occur? Is there a set policy on the use of parts, electrical equipment that the teams must follow to abide by the approximate 600 horsepower that the cars produce?
And if so, can I get a printout of
Yeah.
that?
Yeah.
I tell you what they should do. They should. I've heard the Brytech car on that dyno at the
dyno.
races. Man, it sounds fantastic.
Eastern Creek, we were broadcasting here.
Everybody should have to do that.
Scotty, the engine man.
Yeah,
Scotty.
give her a bit of a tickle up.
sadly, that wasn't my motor.
No. Do the officials monitor engine horsepower? No.
No.
So that gets rid of the if so part of the question. Look, there's a vast rule
But
book
I think
on...
you'll find next year they're looking at in the cost containment document, they're looking at not so much, well, they are looking at controlling engines a little more, but they're certainly looking at trying to make universal parts where
Yes.
the team can save costs by using the one item.
There's certain things like obviously there's bore and stroke figures, and there's maximum capacity, and there's a prescribed list of components that you can use in the engines. But if Brad Jones Racing is capable of getting 625 horsepower and the HSV dealer team can get 629, good luck to the
80,
HSV.
680.
Whatever it may be. And I might mention that they all lie through their teeth. There's not an engine bloke I've ever met in my life who hasn't made 50 horsepower in the last week. And
They'll all be happy to hear them.
Yeah, one of them. No, I won't mention it. But one of them, if you added together everything that he gains every week, he'd have 4,772 horsepower by the time he got to the end of the season. The thing would do wheel stands when you change gears.
Yeah, I think I know who you're talking about.
A big g'day to Glenn and Teresa who've emailed in. Hi guys, how's things going? I've emailed you to find out what is the highest age you can reach before you're not allowed to race V8 Supercars, and what sort of checks do the drivers go through? Brad, would you like to answer this at all?
I can't understand why Rick's laughing so much.
How old's Richo?
Good deflection, Bradley.
Yeah.
How old's your teammate?
My teammate's okay. He's 50-something. No, there's no age restriction, but when you get to 45, when you do your medical, you've got to do a
ECG.
Thank you, Neil. And that's about it, really. You don't, I don't think they have an aim limit.
Put the PI system on your heart to make sure that you've still got
Look
one.
out, pal. It's coming towards you in 20 years' time.
Yeah, that's right. It'll be rocketing at you in 2040.
Yeah. By then, you just breathe into a bag, and they'll be able to tell everything they want to know anyway.
Yeah.
Now, should I give away another clue in the Who Am I?
I thought that was why don't we give them some passes? That's not...
Do you like that question, do you?
I thought it was good.
Well, we'll need our good friend Emily to arrange that.
That's
We've
right,
got,
to
we've got a
make-
few few passes to give away to Sandown, the next round of the championship.
If you're watching from interstate, we'd be
Rick-
happy to send you the passes, but of course it's preferable if you're in and around Melbourne so that you can get to the Sandown 500. The better
Read
electrical
the next
Sandown
question
500.
off that piece of paper.
First
you
one we
snatched
gave
from
away
me.
was, I celebrated a birthday in July. Second clue, until this year I lived on the Gold Coast. Victoria is now my home. Until this year I lived on the Gold Coast.
Is it a motorsport
Victoria is
question?
now my home. It is a motorsport, who am I?
Right.
Email them in. Come on,
Lived
panel
on the
leaders at
Gold
bigpond.com.
How would you ever get the July
one?
one?
And who moves from the Gold Coast?
Well, if you're a dedicated fan,
to Victoria?
you'd know the age of the race driver and potentially when their birthdays were. A lot of people knew that it was Neil's birthday, for example, in July.
Only because
Yeah,
you idiots told
me.
everybody.
Well,
I
that's our
rang him
job.
and laughed.
Yeah,
Who'd
not
be
before I
crazy
rang
enough
and
to-
laughed at yours.
Who'd be
Because you were
crazy-
so
who-
close
who-
to having a birthday on
Who
the
would be
1st of
crazy
April.
enough to move from
Did you remember
Queensland to
his
Victoria?
birthday?
Yeah,
Am I
I do every year.
Am I allowed to guess?
Yeah, go.
Paul Wheel?
Nice one.
Did he?
Nice one.
Well,
you've
you know what?
explained
And that
it.
explains a
Who
lot,
am I
doesn't it?
was for the audience, not for you.
That's,
We'll now give away
that's
those
why,
two tickets to the
That's
best
right.
email.
We'll
this program's
edit that
going
part off.
exceptionally well.
Well done, Rick.
Go on,
Good
Rick.
work.
Yeah, you can come back on the show. I love that.
Yeah, I love it. Turn up and clean bowled Rusty.
Yeah, it's really good. Hey, Rick,
Absolutely.
congratulations. You've got 2 passes to the Better Electrical
Yeah.
Sandown 500.
Would you
actually
folks
need
like to
them
come?
Yeah. Do your mum and dad have an interest in the
Have an
sport?
interest in the sport? Do they follow you?
On the odd occasion, yeah.
Very good.
no,
Funny.
So can I have them tickets?
Well done, Rick. Good
Yes,
stuff.
yes.
You've clean bowled Rusty, which is
Yeah.
good because I'm
Yeah.
still feeling a bit low after
Yes.
blowing it in the first 5 words of the show.
Congratulations to Mr. R. Kelly
Yeah.
of Victoria.
Yeah, of Mildura. Yeah. And we'll send them out to you in the mail. Best of luck to the HSV dealer team this weekend.
Why's that? You're getting rid of me
Yeah,
now?
yeah,
That's right. Flick you out of the
Pull
job.
the trapdoor.
Watch for the hook.
Yeah, when you have control of a program like this, it's good to be able to exercise it. So if anybody shows you up, you just flick them out of the way and get them off.
We'll do the funny stuff next time. Thanks,
That's right.
Rick.
Yeah.
Steve, make a note of that.
That's right. R. Kelly. Okay, gone.
Well, I have to tell you, I'm not leaving till I get me ticket.
Yeah. Oh, I'll give
You
you
could
the
just
ticket.
move that
Get rid of
camera
it.
across this way a little bit. Someone turn him off.
Steve, it's been a pleasure.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
Good luck with the Fujitsu team and your forthcoming enduro drives, and obviously this weekend here at Oran Park. And
Yeah, cheers.
I hope things get better and stronger for Brightech.
Yep, thank you very
Thanks,
much.
mate.
Thanks.
And Rick, we'll organise a couple of passes for
Right,
you in the
that'd be
break.
great.
We'll post them to you, and we'll look forward to another strong result from you guys this weekend. And
Absolutely.
say good day to your big tall mate for us. And
Thanks for that.
we'll look forward to another strong result from you guys in the endurance races. You've had a pretty good
Hopefully.
run up there in the last couple of years, so pressure's on, my boy.
Yeah,
The
unfortunately
three-peat.
it is. It'll be strange up there now not to go quite well.
Who's going to
unfortunately.
qualify the car now? Murph's not in the team.
I don't know that we've released that yet.
Haven't sorted all that out.
You're going to fight him?
I tell you what,
We've
for a
just
cou-
broken some news there.
for a couple of passes, we'll try and get the answer out of you. Rick Kelly and Steve Owen. Thanks, guys. We'll be back with more panel beaters right after this.
I love live TV. Welcome back to the Panel Beaters live, wherever you're joining us. We're coming to you from Oran Park, round 8 of the V8 Supercar Championship Series. Who is this? Enter stage right, Neil Crompton,
yeah, while
who
we're on a
should
break,
be here. Where is he, Brad? Where's he been?
he's got gas. He's got gas. He's had to make a pit stop.
Now, quickly, before we introduce our next guest, you all right? You feeling okay?
You know,
You had a bad curry for lunch, didn't
yeah.
you? Now,
I don't think he's well.
really?
Oh, man.
Can you go on with the show?
No,
Can you go on?
It's a struggle.
We want to welcome or say congratulations to the winners of our Panel Beaters competition from our last broadcast. So they won some tickets, 2 passes this weekend to Oran Park. A big hello to Ken Sminkton, I think it's pronounced, from North Ryde.
Sorry,
Nice
could you do
part
that
of the
again,
world.
please? Ken who?
I'm not going to do that. John McLaughlin from Bella Vista. They've won
That's
some
not
passes.
what you said the first time.
Sminkton. Or Symington, perhaps it's pronounced.
I
Let's
like
move along.
Sminkton
Congratulations.
suits me a lot better.
Right. They won some passes to this weekend's round at Oran Park. Now, panelbeaters at bigpond.com is where you can email us, not for the Who Am I, it's now over. We want to say
We had our
a huge g'day to all the podcasters who are listening to the program. We've got some passes to give away to Sandown. We'll get to that shortly, but we should welcome a man who's pretty much dominated the headlines since the last round of the series, and that's Jason Richards from the Dodo Racing Tasman team. How are you?
Good, thanks, Rusty.
Good
brand
opportunity.
New. I'm brand new.
Good opportunity for us to wind the clock back, though. Let's start from the start. What happened with you and Paul Morris coming out of Turn 3 at Queensland Raceway? Walk us through that.
Yeah, well, there's obviously a big difference in opinion between Paul and I on that. But look, Glenn Seaton, well, I wind it right back to the start of the race. We didn't have a fantastically fast car at Queensland. It was the first probably weekend we've been struggling a little bit with the speed, and I guess I was just cruising really, just trying to finish the race and make sure that I stayed out of trouble. Seaton jumped up the inside of Paul going into turn 3, so I sort of thought, oh, here we go, an easy pass. So I sort of followed Seaton through, and we're fairly well towards the exit of the corner. And
easy pass on Paul Morris. That was your first mistake, Jason.
Yeah, it was, wasn't it? And look, I just followed Seaton through, and we're coming out of the exit of the corner, and next minute he just got on the back of me and sent me over a 22 centimetre high curve, which is sort of this high, and continued to barrel roll the thing.
Did you feel that did you know he was on the outside of you? Were you sort of? I mean, he's saying that you ran him out of road. Obviously that's not what you think. But did you feel that you'd given him enough racing room?
Honestly, I did, because I had Seaton to the left of me. And I was sort of at probably my left-hand side of my car was sort of overlapping maybe the tail light of Seaton. So there was still a car width of room, and then we weren't even at the curb. Like Seaton hadn't got to the curb yet either. So, and I was intending to try and get the car on as much as I could, but. Of course, the track, it's a unique situation. It's got a link road or the club circuit. It goes to the left. So Morris is well out there somewhere. And when we look at the replay, he was a metre apart, and then he's come firing back across onto the racing line, I guess, where I was.
The link road has been the subject of many emails that we've received at Network 10. Just to quickly explain that for a second before we move on here, because you can actually, in that club circuit you're talking about, link in from turn 2, run down that road toward turn 3, and then turn right, basically where you had the launch of the instance. So the reason for the curb being there is for the reconfigured circuit, isn't it?
Yeah, and it's been there for a long time. But
so why do you reckon we've not had an incident till now?
Oh, I don't know, because it's just
fate, really.
Just fate, yeah. Hang on a sec. That's you raise a very important point, which I'd like to get back to. But if we can just talk for one more minute about Paul. So, and I haven't seen the incident on television, but he had a meter between the front of your car.
You haven't seen it at all?
No.
It's only been on every news station around the world.
I've seen him hogging the cover of Auto Action 2 weeks in a row, but I haven't seen it on television. So I'm a busy man, pal. Busy man, pal. 3 kids.
He didn't want to be shown
up. Do they get TV in Albury?
Yeah.
It's been all around the world.
Hey, listen. Man rolls a car once and he's on everything.
Exactly.
How about a few us people that persevere with that stuff, eh?
Hey,
roll the car over twice.
It was my third attempt, thank you.
Yeah. Listen, pal, while we're talking about that, if you once is okay, let's see you do it again this weekend. You want to go for the record?
Come on, move on.
Is there a question in this?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. You had a meter between the rear of your car and the front of his car over that way, was it? And he's just arrowed back across, has he?
Well, look, I mean, the people have seen the footage. You see this gap disappear. Yeah. Basically, wow. And he admits it in his press release. It was basically a decision he made. Was he felt that he was going to get forced into the curb.
Well, I heard Paul say somewhere that, and this, you see, everyone's got to be careful what they wish for. All this discussion about racing room, what Paul's view is, and I've not spoken to him personally, but I heard him articulate it on air at one point, was that I was fully to the left. The next step for me is to drive over the curb and out into the grass. Hey, I'm not moving. This is what racing room's all about. So. We got the end result of that, and that's why we've got to be very careful with this whole business of the racing room thing, because it can be a very dangerous.
Well, there was still an overlap.
Because in this instance, if you're Jason Richards, you go, well, hang on, I've just been tipped over. If you're Paul Morris, you go, look, I'm on the racetrack. There's no compulsion for me to drive off the racetrack. And of course, for you and for your friends and colleagues, and what have you, saying, well, why don't you just fan the throttle and drop 1/10 of a second and slot in behind me? So that becomes a very complex argument. And that's, for example, a lot of people have said to me, you didn't seem to have much of an opinion about it on television. I said, because it's almost impossible now to actually have an opinion that might somehow reflect what other people are thinking about it, because unless you're in race control or you get the benefit of being able to look at the onboard cameras that Tiga place in the cars and you fully across the entire argument, then it becomes an impossible thing to comment on.
If you were in that position, would you have lifted?
I would normally have lifted in that position, absolutely, because the one thing I don't want to have is an accident, because we all know. I mean, in this instance, Paul was able to continue with an able car, however, officialdom intervened. But sod's law usually dictates, whenever I've been in something like that it rips the splitter off the front of the thing, or it does this to the front right wheel, and now I've got 4 inches of toe in on the front right. And thing won't
I hate that.
So, I hate that. The steering wheel's on the you-know-what. So, typically if you guys were fighting for a championship, a world championship, it's the last lap, and it's absolutely to the death, yeah, maybe. But you're buried in the field by your own admission with a car that's not too flash, and clearly Paul's wasn't either, which is the reason why he was there.
That's why we're backed up behind him.
So what were you, 20th or something like that?
Oh, yeah, look, we would have ended up, say, 12th or 13th or something.
So, I mean, for me, you would fan the throttle and not have the incident, which, but, Paul, as he has articulated, he felt he was within his rights to do that. But of course, he did cop this, not only a drive-through, but a stop and go, so he did pay some penalty.
Did he get a fine?
No, but that was the end of the matter. They deemed that the whole thing was dealt with there and then. But
look, I want to go through it with the stewards, because we've got to work out. I mean, the thing is, he never got to the curb, and they based the decision on the Ambrose situation at
that's
Oran
right.
Park.
And see, the problem is there's a series of precedents beginning to creep in here, and the other thing is, and I don't mean to butt over the top of you there,
but you did,
Jerts, but I did, so I'll just press on anyway. Careful.
Just move the camera over.
I saw what you did to Rick Kelly. You got him out.
Yeah,
that's right, pal. We suffer none of that on this show.
Who? That's what Rick Kelly. I don't know who Rick Kelly is. I've lost my point now. I've been such a clever dick. But but the
precedent. You were talking about precedent.
The fact is, there's some precedent there now, because what happened at Eastern Creek, I was like, you're kidding me. That was the way they read that incident. So, okay, if that's the way we read that incident, then I can understand where some of these decisions are now coming from. But the problem you're going to have when you talk your way through this metre by metre is that both Colin and Peter Wallerman are going to say, look, we did deal with it. He has been penalised, so what's your problem? So that's what they're going to say. They're going to say there was
action taken.
And a fine. So
exactly. Look, I'm not probably where I'm standing. I want to define the rules, because
they won't.
Exactly. That is our issue, isn't it? I mean, as a racing driver,
the problem.
We've got to work out like for me, I was so far past Morris. And if I was Morris, you're done and dusted. So you just got to go, I surrender.
Yeah, but not everybody does it.
No, exactly. And obviously there is... Look, he got a penalty, so you're probably not allowed to do it. But you've got to define where the edge of the racing track is. Is it when you cut your tyres running on the edge of the racing track, or is it preconceived?
If they've set a precedent, which they say they have, then that is... If your car is overlapping and you're doing a passing manoeuvre, then you need to give him room. Absolutely, no doubt about it, every single time.
I'm very old-fashioned in this regard. In the good old days, now I'm really starting to sound like one of those old tossers who hasn't done it for a while, but in the old days, the bottom line was that when... you had right of way when you had the majority of your car in front of the other bloke. So in this instance, when you came off that corner, when you had... You didn't have, even an overlap scenario, you were clearly in front of the bloke. At the point of contact, he's hit the back of your car. Is that correct?
That's correct, yeah.
So you had right of way. So in the way it used to be interpreted, then there clearly would have been, no, you're at fault and there's going to be a penalty, which is how I would have thought it would have been at Eastern Creek for the Turn 2 incident down there. But it's not being seen that way, and the whole racing room thing is dodgy from that viewpoint.
I can sense the tension still in your voice, and rightly so. You had a conversation with Paul over the phone on the Sunday night. Have you spoken to him since?
Yeah. It was nice. I mean, Paul rang me up. Obviously, it was probably one of the biggest V8 Supercars shunts in a little while. Sorry, Brad.
I believe it. I'm off the promo.
Yeah, off the promo. But so he rang me up to see how it was. I mean, it's 8 o'clock. I'm probably running a little bit of concussion here too by this stage. But he's rang me up and he said, I mean, this is the most funniest thing I've ever heard. He goes, what happened, mate? Did you hit the curb?
You're joking.
No. I said, yeah, funny that. I think you might have had something to do with it. And so the conversation, and he goes, oh, you're right. I said, look, I'm in a bit of pain, cracked rib, and at that stage didn't know what was going on. And anyway, and then I said, mate, to be honest, I didn't expect it from you, I would have thought, because we had a bit of a deal, if one car's slower than the other, we sort of had a situation where I would let him pass if I was clearly holding him up, and he would let me back pass if it was if he went nowhere. A bit like a teammate situation,
like a gentleman's agreement between the two.
When
of you.
did you have that conversation?
Oh no, we've had that for the last year or so, and
that never works, by the way.
It never works, no. But we've executed a couple of times at Winton and bits and pieces where I was quick, and he thought he was quick, he went past, and I was quicker, so I went back past, and bits and pieces. So it was it caught me by surprise, and the fact that we had a bit of a working relationship before. And then
if it got to tell you the gig was off.
Yeah, the gig was well and truly off.
You didn't get that memo?
No, I never got that memo.
It's just come through. I'm sure. I just looked through this paperwork.
So so we basically so we instantly went to the point. Well, you ran me out of the road, and I'm going, no, mate, you just got in the back of me. You should have lifted, blah blah blah. And so we obviously were going to go nowhere very quickly. So we wound it up.
Which is what we should do now.
Yeah, just one more thing. The curb incident. Just talk about the curb for a second, which is what I said. We get back to your point, Rusty. What surprised me was after the accident on Saturday. I know that because I was there, Stephen Richards complained about it and said we should pull that out tonight. We should get a dozer. Why can't someone run a dozer?
You're talking about after the Porsche accident on
Saturday.
Saturday.
That's right. In the driver's briefing, we said let's. Stephen went to somebody and said Stephen and I went to someone. Let's knock it out. Well, nothing. They said that they couldn't change the track because and it had its safety inspection, and that would alter. That
just seems crazy.
It would make it safe.
And make it safe. And no, they wouldn't be doing it because they didn't think it was that dangerous, and they'll look at it in the future. Thanks for your input.
But the thing is, it's exactly the same as what we had at Pukekohe. We had a stack of tyres, which were dangerous. We all complained about them. I barrel rolled the car. The next day they make them lower. I guarantee we go back to Queensland, that curb won't be there.
Oh no, and not only that, I'll tell you, if there had been 30 militant drivers standing around having that discussion instead of 2, then they might have knocked the curb out. Do you think that, Neil? You don't think that?
Oh, no, I do think it, but I mean, I keep in mind I did this job for 5 or 6 years as the driver safety representative on behalf of all of you, and trying to get all 34 to play ball.
To be unified and
waste of time. I mean, I could show you, I would have the files in this very computer that, countless meetings. I was on the CAM safety committee for a long time, and then I represented the drivers with Glenn Seaton and Mark Scaife. And Thomas Mazier at one point, I mean, you cannot...
Was that time you were on the Judean People's Front?
That's right. And
was that the People's Front of Judea?
And it is. And there was just you just can't get you can't. Motor racing people are very self-centered.
Oh,
and,
really?
Yeah, I know that'll shock you. And I couldn't get the support. We had a time. I won't name names in places, but there was a time where I had Mark Scaife with me, and we were having a fairly decent brawl with not an official, but a person that worked at a racetrack that shall remain nameless around this country, where they'd done something that was crazy. They'd done it at the insistence of CAMS, I might mention, and it got to the point where I had to be restrained because I was trying to kill this bloke, and this is in the middle of the race meeting. It's just
red mist.
I want to talk about you brought up safety there, which I think is a good point, but what benefit did the hands device have for you in this rollover? What was the rollover like? Talk about all that for us.
The rollover was huge, like this big impacts, and at one point...
it's a sickening feeling, isn't it? You can't explain it to people. As the thing's pounding into the ground, it's just the air coming out of your body makes a terrible noise, doesn't it? It's a shocking feeling.
Like there's certain things there's certain things I can actually remember, like vividly, and as I went up over the curb, my first thought was, oh my God, I cannot believe that I'm about to barrel roll a car and I've been driving around all day trying to keep myself out of trouble. So that was the first thought, and then it's hit the ground and land and gone over. Well, that was quite graceful, I guess. But because the next hit was, well, we're home, and it's really thudded, and I was upside down, it hit sort of the right front. And at this stage, this is when the hands device and everything worked, because I was hanging on the steering wheel, and I've been thrown out of the seat sort of like this. I mean, it's, at this stage, I think the seat's collapsed as well. It's all cracked. My rib's gone. I felt my rib pop. And obviously I thought, well, we're in for a big ride. And my helmet was sort of up here off my ears because I was sort of upside down at this stage when it's hit. And then the back left corner's gone, and so I've gone from way over here to been thrown back here, and the forces are pretty amazing. So
what did you do?
At this stage, I thought, well, I'm going to die, and I'm going to have to try and keep hold of my neck. So I felt something go in my rib, obviously, and so I've literally grabbed hold of my. I've let go of my steering wheel because the steering wheel was no good anymore. Held the front of my helmet and just pulled myself in, pulled my feet in because they were getting flicked around a bit, and just curled up into a ball, and then just rode it out basically. But every time the car hit, I had these bright stars come in and the old lights were getting dimmed, and then it would come right again, and then it would hit again, and then it would black out again. So pretty frightening. Yeah, I was trying to not pass out because I knew if we pass out, your limbs go everywhere and got a chance to get them chopped off somewhere.
How do you feel now?
Oh, good. Yeah, like in terms of
Are
pain,
you back to full fitness?
Yeah, no. I'd be lying if I did. Like I'd be 95%, and well, I guess we'll find out tomorrow. I mean, obviously, sitting here talking to you guys, there's not a lot of forces getting pushed on me. And unless Bradley gets his elbow out. But
the real test is, have you been lost, bike riding somewhere in the last couple of weeks? Because,
No, I've done no fitness. I mean, it's not ideal, is it? I mean, we're going to the endurance races, and I haven't been able to walk.
Come on, you just don't train anyway.
Yeah.
He was always on about, let's go for a mountain bike ride. I was out there pounding away day in, day out.
Sending a few SMS messages when he's lost near Bathurst somewhere in a forest.
Are you going to wear Rusty's... rib protector?
I'm gonna do that because there's one spot in my rib. If you give it a push.
Where's that?
Yeah. It's on the left hand side.
Okay.
Yeah, it's one spot, and if I couldn't imagine if I triggered it off, it wouldn't be that comfortable. So I'm going to wear Rusty's thank you donated to the team.
No problem.
A rib protector for the weekend. So I'll wear that, and that's basically a piece of foam. It's a go-kart thing, and it's got a bit of a plastic insert, and it will just take the pressure off that one spot and put it over all the ribs. So it should be a lot more comfortable.
Maybe you could wear Rusty's helmet as well as a sign of respect.
Team have done a good job on the repair of that car in a very short period of time. It's come up damn good.
It was 12 mils out. I mean, big accident, and really it was only 12 mils twisted. So it shows you how strong these cars are. And what are you laughing about?
They're taking the mickey out of me, and I'm trying to move forward. So
Where did it finish? Was it on its side or its roof?
Mate, it's an amazing...
Bradley?
Being a...
Hang on, I've got a point to this.
Everybody watching the show has seen it 18 times.
Okay. But how did it finish?
Where did it finish? There's a question that everyone's just hanging on. Oh, I wonder where.
Well, because if it was on its side or on its roof, I was going to say, so you didn't have any trouble getting out.
But no, I was praying for it to land on its wheels, right?
Yeah.
And it's on its side, and go, come on, just land on its wheels, because it's so much easier, as you know, to get out of the car in the right way up.
Because that's what my point was going to be, how hard it is to get out.
But it had no wheels on it, and so when it's landed like 1.5 tons landing on a piece of steel, and you just bolted to it. So it actually wasn't that pleasant after all. Would have been probably better to be on its side.
Where is he?
He's over there.
We need him for this link.
Moving right along.
Panel beaters at bigpond.com. We'd like to get some emails from you, and we've got plenty that are coming in, which we'll get to shortly. We have one which is relevant to you being here. Beth from North Strathfield has emailed in. She says, without wishing to downplay the Jason Richards rollover at the last round, do you really think that Paul Morris deserved a drive-through and a 60-second hold, considering that a similar shunt in any other part of the circuit would probably have resulted in just a turnaround or an off? Are the stewards being influenced by the end result and not the infringement?
And I actually had that question thrown at me quite a bit. I don't think we should go back into this whole topic because we spent a fair bit of time on it, and plus Paul's not here to debate it with us. But that question was thrown at me a few times, was everybody reacting to the spectacular nature of it. But I think it's really more a question of the whole business of the racing room thing that needs to be further defined. And I think that's going to be very difficult for the paddock that we're sitting in at the moment to get on top of because of the complexity of the argument. Does the end result influence it? Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Well,
and it has to. Because, that is all part and parcel of the whole thing. But we've found a flaw in one of our racetracks, which we do need to deal with, I think. Jason Richards, thank you very much for your time. We've got a pile of emails and things to rattle through here and a bunch of other notes. Have you got time to hang around with us, or you need to go and get some physio on your bung rib? Or
Look, I'll do another 10 minutes, and I've got my lovely wife Charlotte out in the car waiting for me in the cold. So
she's got the heater cranked up.
She's got the heater cranked up. All right. She'll be getting hungry. You know what girls are like when they're hungry.
Here, take her out a red frog.
That ought to solve everything. Now, where are you guys at in terms of preparations now for the Enduros because of obviously the hold-up that's attached to a big rebuild like this?
Yeah, look, it's knocked us around a little bit in a couple of areas, and obviously we didn't go to go testing last week. We knocked the spares package around a bit, knocked the budget around a bit. I mean, it's an expensive business, this motor racing. When you put 4 new calipers on for a race meeting and 2 new uprights and manifolds and shock absorbers and everything you can imagine, a seat, a seat's $4,000. A set of seat belts is $1,000. It's just lots and lots of money which we just spent on effectively our new car budget's been gone back to keeping an old one going. But apart from that, I mean, I've been really impressed with the Tasman Motorsport guys because they've put the work in. They've delivered me here this weekend like a pristine motor car, and it really hasn't knocked its spares package around as much as I was expecting. And so I'm pretty confident, other than losing a test day, that we're not that much worse off.
Your car's a lot faster this year than it was last year. What do you put that down to? Do you think it's a chassis thing or the engine change?
Yeah, engines. Yeah, the engines are. It's at some stage at some tracks we're more than 6 to 7 k's faster down the straight.
Wow.
So that's just.
Because you've still got Wally doing the car, so fundamentally the chassis would be quite similar. Because you're one of the teams that have made quite a jump.
Yeah, we've made a big jump, but I'm actually disappointed that we seem to have so much more engine speed, but we're not really getting the. I mean, we have improved our results, but it's not as much as what I thought.
The end gain isn't what is.
You'd think we're going, where's my pole position gone?
That's right. All this extra effort, all this extra speed. What's happening? We've got a pile of news to get through and some emails, so we're going to take a break, and we might try and hold over that question and thought process for the moment. And when we come back, we'll talk more with Jason Richards from Tasman Motorsport and discuss a whole wide range of things live here at Oran Park, thanks to Big Pond. Cue.
Welcome back to the Panel Beaters. It's been a very exciting show so far. We've had a number of different guests, and we've had Neil Crompton do probably one of his very best intros for the complete series of the show, I'd say. Wouldn't you say, Neil?
It was a shocker, but no one cares.
The sad part
you're
is
the one that's doing
relying
the talking
on me
at the
now.
moment.
Yeah. So what we're going to do now is run through a few of our emails. Neil.
Well, hang on. We talked in the break about the likelihood of you saying thanks to Jason because he's a busy man.
He wants to stay for 5 more minutes.
You know what happened during the break, don't you? You know what happened during the break?
I just said
Brad read the rundown with these. That's what happened. That's what happened.
It's made it clearer, though.
What's coming up next, Neil?
Yeah. Did you like Bradley's segue, though, where he kind of got us in and then didn't know where to go and what have you?
Have read from.
Yeah, I've had too many of them already.
These are damn hard to see out of. Have you ever walked
Really? You should try driving with them on. I wear them every weekend.
What are you doing with Larry's glasses?
Well, I'm trying to get his sponsor.
Oh, dear. We've got a question here from Andrew who said he's heard that Oran Park will not be around at the Championship in the next few years. Is that true? If so, how can the Championship remain Australian when Australian tracks are being removed from the calendar like Winton, Calder Park, Lakeside and possibly Oran Park in favour of expanding the series to Shanghai and maybe even the Middle East? Well, today, Andrew, I was with Lee Diffie. I brought him out here because he's disabled at the moment and we couldn't get an ambulance to bring him out. So he came out in my vehicle and he was talking to the owner here at Oran Park on the phone as we came out because he wanted to do an interview with him for Network 10's Sports Tonight program to just ascertain the facts regarding the future of the circuit. And as far as Tony's concerned at the moment, all bets are off with that more recent announcement that they may ultimately sell the property for housing development, so there's some possibility it may continue for a while.
Oh, really? So he's not selling the property?
Well, he wasn't prered to make an on-camera
not in
statement,
the immediate future.
But I think you'll find that for the time being, at least, it'll just continue as a race circuit.
Not enough zeros?
I don't know. He didn't elaborate, and there was a whole bunch of things. There's been some shuffles here. If you're watching from out of this state, they've reshuffled cabinet in state government. There's a new premier in New South Wales. A whole bunch of things that are affecting all sorts of zoning and investment and residential considerations in this part of the world.
And for those of you that are wondering how Diff got out in Neil's car, he drives a station wagon, and Diff was laying down in the back of it. Is that right?
That's right, with his leg bent, sticking up in the air, screaming on his mobile phone. Andrew, thanks for that question. Just to reassure you and a lot of other V8 Supercar fans who might be watching us tonight on Big Pond on the Panel Beaters, whatever happens with the future of the calendar with V8 Supercar racing, there is a gazetted 14 maximum events at the moment. 13 of those are championship rounds. Of the 14 in total, we've got an arrangement with the Confederation of Australian Motorsport that exists between Avesco and CAMS. There'll be a minimum of 10 domestic rounds no matter what, with a maximum at this point in time of 3 to 4 international races. Now, at the moment, that's 3, because obviously we have the Grand Prix in Melbourne, which makes 11, if you like, plus 3.
And there's absolutely no way I can see our championship not having a round in Sydney. It just makes no sense at all. So there'll always be a round in Sydney.
And there's a bit going on there, so we'll wait and watch. But rest assured that no one's going to take the Australian part out of the Australian V8 Supercar Championship. There's nobody in this paddock who for a moment is thinking that would be a good idea. So everybody in motorsport shares your concern about that.
Jason Richards is just about to bolt. Before he does, how about we fire a question at him? Kate, I think it is, has filed one from Victoria. What determines which crew gets assigned to which pit garage at each round? Great show, guys. Listen all the time. Thank you. How does it happen, lads?
Yeah, well, that's done on championship. If you're talking about the actual the lineup of garages down pit lane, that's done off the championship order, where the team finished the previous year. So effectively, we sit in between Gary Rogers and FPR, and we do that all year. So, and I guess Stone Brothers are the first one in because they won the championship last year.
Thanks for coming, mate.
It's been a pleasure.
To see you.
It's great to see you up the right way.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, if Bradley, hopefully Bradley can show us up this weekend, mate. It's your turn to get on Rusty's greatest crashes or whatever he has.
I've got the goggles, so I can't see the curb. So I reckon I could be able to chance with these puppies on.
V8 Super Hits. I'll be coming to interview you blokes about that this weekend. We've got some new additions to it, but
never to be outdone. I'll be on it. Don't you worry about that.
Thanks,
Don't even joke about it.
It's always a pleasure, guys.
He's been a guest host of the program in months gone by, and always a friend of the show. Thanks for coming in tonight. We enjoy taking it out of you.
Very good. Where's my free tickets?
We'll work on that, and I'm sure the incident that you were unfortunately involved in together with Paul will be talked about for a long time. It's behind us now, and it's been dealt with, but it certainly put a blip on the radar of V8 Supercar coverage. Everybody had an opinion one way or another on that, so thanks again, mate, and we'll look forward to another strong result from you this weekend. We've got more email here. Rob from Gladstone in Queensland. There's been a bit of discussion recently about whether or not there'll be a race in North Queensland in the not too distant future, but Rob's question is not related to that. It's about that dreaded question on the Ambrose seat at Stone Brothers Racing, and we didn't pursue Ross too hard because obviously it was pointless.
He's never going to tell you anything.
He's not going to tell you anything, and really the question from Rob is, what do we think? Well, I don't think it actually matters what we think, but there's still obviously a few people that are being discussed, but I mean this will be linked to what other people are doing as well. It's not just a clear case of I'll have him and he can come and sit over here.
It's interesting that Larry's come out and said that Stephen Richards is absolutely not available, and I think you'll find Todd Kelly will get stitched up pretty quickly.
There has been a bit of dancing, so
there has been a bit of dancing
because neither Stephen,
it's a timing thing.
Neither Stephen nor Todd were solid for 2006 and beyond. Not because Stephen didn't have a contract with Larry, but there's the question mark over what would happen with Larry's operation.
And there still is, really, to a certain degree.
Right. So, Rob, we don't really know. We're not going to hazard a guess because it only adds.
Could be any one of 20 people, really.
But I think you'll find, personal opinion here is that it's probably going to drag on for a little while. I don't see it being resolved
without naming names. Do you see it being someone that is within the series currently or someone outside it? That's my question. Do you think that Ross Stone is going to try and get an established name that is a current Championship Series driver, or will he go outside the game and look for someone else?
I think that that will depend on a whole range of things that make it an impossible question to answer, because it's to do with where people are at in their contract cycles. It's to do with who's available in the paddock and who's, it's really not an easy thing to answer.
Ask me that question, Rusty.
Go on.
All right.
Well, I think that his preferred position is going to be someone that's already in the championship, and I think he'll probably get 3 or 4 drivers down. If he can't secure those, he'll just look for the best driver he can get, because it worked okay when Marcus, it's a big risk, but it worked okay when Marcus first came into the series. But he will not. I doubt that he can win the championship without someone that's competed in it already.
I mean, I 100% agree with you. I was just being more diplomatic about, not trying to name names here. But if you're a team owner in there, like this bloke, or any of the senior people in here, the very first guys you shoot at are blokes that have got known pedigree. Have you won a race? Can you win a race? How well do you work with people?
Have you won a championship? Have you won Bathurst? Blah blah blah.
And don't underestimate how well do you work with people, because the Stone Brothers is like a family, and they need someone that's going to fit in there.
That's why we call the Stone Brothers. It's like a family.
Yeah, but I mean all the guys that work on the floor. And I think...
you got halfway through an answer there. You said Russell.
Well, Russell's rocking the boat a bit at the moment. And I'm not sure that that's all that clever, but
you heard it here first. Bradley Jones was the one that mentioned it. We have another question here. Ken, who's a Ford nut. Does the panel feel that there should be any more longer races like Sandown and Bathurst of at least 500 kilometres throughout the year to have a number of stops for fuel and tyres?
We've already got Adelaide when you consider, although that is two 250k races, we've got a Sandown and a Bathurst. I reckon that's a pretty good mix.
I quite like the fact that we've got a fair bit of variety going on.
I do too. In the States, you look at the NASCAR races, and they're all 3.5 hours, and I really enjoy watching them. They're long races. I think we could maintain another 1,000 or another 3,000k races during the year.
From a driver's viewpoint, I always felt the longer races were great. Just enjoy getting out there and just batting away at it and working on it.
There's certainly a lot more strategy in it. You need to stroke the car along. From a driver's point of view, absolutely. But I think
races. For folks like Ken, for television viewers, for Big Pond viewers and so forth, I think you've got to be a little bit careful that you don't end up with too many long races, because if they do settle down into a flat orbit, they can be a borathon very easily. We also want to make special mention of the winners from our previous broadcast up at, I was going to say on the Gold Coast, but my brain was out of whack there, up at Queensland Raceway out past Ipswich.
This happened while he was in the toilet, didn't it?
Yeah.
He doesn't realise.
Oh, you did it when
I've already done it.
Hey, Ken,
Neil was concentrating on gas.
I'll keep going.
I'll just ditch that one. You're gone now, Ken.
Panel beaters at bigpond.com. Here's one from David, and it's addressed to Brad. Hey, mate, I managed to be in the right spot at the right time at Bathurst last year and somehow captured a great pic of your other car in mid-flight. I was just wondering if you would like a copy of it to hang on the workshop wall to remember all that money you spent. David Tomek.
Yeah, I do. I would love to see a copy of that. Probably not as much as John Clellan, but I really would like to have a look at it. It can go with one of my many roles. If you'd like to send it to bjrrace@aussiemail.com.au, that'd be fantastic.
Or you could email it here to the panelbeaters at bigpond.com.
That'd be even better.
You do that. Another one here. Let me just check with my protocol officer, Greg Russ, to make sure that I can read these emails in case they were done when I was caught short. Gregory, is this one okay to read?
You can keep going.
Thank you, Gregory. Appreciate that. Top show. It's a pity it's not on every week or on live TV, but look, it is on Big Pond, and that's fantastic. Big Pond are huge supporters of V8 Supercar, and they're podcasting the program now. Mentioned that earlier in the show if you've just joined us. And by the way, I digress. On the V8 Supercar website at the moment, Big Pond are conducting a survey. We would love to hear from you about your views on the V8 Supercar Championship and Big Pond's involvement. So if you get a moment, jump onto the website and just fill in that little questionnaire. It's relatively short and quite simple, like Bradley, short and simple. Top show. It's a pity it's not on every week or on live TV. And on the last Superstars, Traddy was finally on there, and Lee Diffie was asking everyone questions, and he asked, this is dangerous when you just read these and you've not read them before, he asked Bradley, since he's the only team owner on the show, what are your thoughts, what's it about? Trying to just condense this.
Basically, he didn't ask Traddy the same question as me. I remember him doing that. Right. It's a very difficult thing for Lee. Got pressure on him. He's got Scott in his ear, and he amended Traddy when he asked the team question.
Yeah, right. So
I do remember that.
We don't think of you as a team owner. We think of you as a friend and colleague.
Yeah. But it was just really an oversight, and it's
I get it now. Kerry from South Australia. I think actually sledging my one-legged mate Lee Diffie for asking an incorrect question.
We've got one here from
Steve. Both of us.
Steve says, we've tuned in for the first time, enjoying the show. Our question is, has the fourth overseas venue been announced? When will it be scheduled? The ones we have heard are Bahrain or Dubai, China and New Zealand. That leaves one to the unknown. Hope you can shed some light on this.
Guam, but don't tell anybody.
Fiji.
Steve, we're glad you enjoyed the show.
You know, years ago, you may remember this.
Neil and Bob went to Hawaii once.
Yes, that's a whole other story. That was 1986. Years ago, you may remember this because you and I have paralleled our way through this motorsport experience called life. There was a lot of talk at one point about there being a race at Hamilton Island.
Yeah, that'd be fantastic, actually.
How good would that be? On the Banana Lounge, going through the debrief. It's got a bit of understeer. I will have another drink, thank you.
Mind you, those roads are pretty narrow there. They'd have to nearly run around the golf course.
Had no hope of ever getting up, but geez, it was a great idea. Where were we with all that?
One here from Ian, if you'd like me to keep pressing on. 5 minutes to show close.
We got a pile of emails. It's terrible that we ignore.
Come on, Rusty. Fire
customers of ours.
It's been a couple of years since Project Blueprint, and it seems that the same cars, SBR and HRT, still figure at the pointy end of the field. Do you think Project Blueprint has made much of a difference? Thanks, Ian, for your email. Lads, what do you think?
No, I think it has. Certainly, same guys are at the pointy end of the field, but it's
in two different brands of car.
Yeah, in two different brands of car, and that's what the idea was.
Well, let's just go back a sec.
Okay.
Project Blueprint was about making sure the two brands were equally matched, and I think
not the whole field.
Well, I think you would have to say that whether you're a Ford or a Holden supporter at the moment, the two cars are pretty darn good when it comes to parity brawls, and the whole parity debate has gone off the radar a little bit lately. The question you're asking is how come they are the dominant forces? Well, that's another question. That's about personnel, it's about drivers, it's about technology, it's about proprietary knowledge that those teams have generated over a long period of time. Just because you do Project Blueprint doesn't necessarily mean that other teams win races.
How about we fire through two quick others and then maybe have a general chat about the world of motor racing beyond V8 Supercar? We're obviously here for round 8 of the championship. Are you aware of any instance where the IPO has used the Avesco mandated in-car cameras to review an incident post-race?
Virtually all of them.
All of them.
Particularly the one that springs to mind, one of the first ones, the Cam McConville Paul Dumbrell incident at Adelaide last year.
Yeah, no, they use them extensively.
Yeah.
Great show, guys. Keep it up. I'm scared to read these without reading them first. I was wondering what's going to happen with the TV rights when the contract runs out with Network 10. Have you heard anything? I would hope to hear something if it did.
All those with a job take a step forward. Neil Crompton, where do you think you're going?
For the record, I really hope 10 keeps it because they've done a hell of a job for Australian motorsport, and that's from Adam in Western Sydney. Thank you, Adam. That's very kind of you. Everybody at 10 works very hard and has a lot of passion for motorsport, as you obviously understand. The current deal exists until the end of 2006. Our fearless leader at Network 10, who's passionate about motor racing in the sport department, is negotiating with Avesco on that one at the moment.
And Neil, if I put my glasses on, look into the future,
yes,
I'd have to say there's a good chance 10 will keep it.
And you know that as a team owner, do you?
No, I don't. I just think it's a big good idea. They've done a fantastic job. And
mate, you
won
look good.
two Logies. Won 2 Logies.
3. Don't let that worry.
3.
Yeah, that's right. But
really? Sorry, it's only Steve that's won 2 Logies.
Imagine if you said, I've only won one Bathurst and you robbed him of a couple of them. He'd be all over you like a cheap suit.
I've never won Bathurst.
1992 as well. You forgot about 1992.
That's right. Now, I know that email has already been read. Who do we think the main contenders are for Sandown and Bathurst?
Hard to go past
Actually,
the HRT car and the HSV dealer team. Don't write out or rule out these blokes.
Yeah, my little mate down the end here with the squeaky voice and the interesting hair actually goes pretty well there every year.
Yeah, well, we're
your hair
is
interesting at the moment. Sandra from Big Pond noted before that it was nice colour and
got
nice
a new hairdresser.
That's very good.
It'll be interesting to see what happens this year. Are we going to talk about...
what did you think of Rossi driving the Ferrari, quickly?
Well, I thought it was okay. I mean, they were talking about him being a driver. He's 2 seconds off the pace.
Suggestion today that he might end up a test driver at
That
Ferrari.
would surprise me as well, because you've got to be able to give him good feedback. But
I don't know. I've got so much paperwork here for this show, and you know what? I've used 10% of it tonight.
I bought none, and I've used everything up. Paul Tracy driving the NASCAR.
That's the difference between the two of us.
That was impressive. Tracy driving the NASCAR.
Tracy drove the NASCAR. He was really quick in testing. He was right on the money. And if he can get
racing.
Yep, if he can get a release, he'll do a racing one. And he'll fit in with
the release from Jerry, but he's got to get the deal approved by Richard Childress.
But he was
only
on
money.
par, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was as quick as Dale Jarrett in testing and Jerry Mayfield. He was quick.
He ran at Michigan last week, up on the big bowl there, which I've been to that place.
But he hasn't done a race, and I reckon racing one of those things is a bit different. Mind you, he'll fit in well because they're whacking team managers.
NASCAR King.
Yeah, King of Keilor.
King of Keilor.
Okay, let me just check what else we've got to talk about here.
Recent rumour is that Warren Luff would be taking Marcus Ambrose's seat.
I brushed that one.
No, we didn't want to go there.
I don't.
We've got to wrap this up. I hate leaving all this email behind. Sorry, folks. I know that you've taken time to put finger to keypad and fire some email at us. And there's been a whole raft of news that we haven't got to. No running today, by the way, just in case you're wondering and thought we were completely crazy. All of the activity starts tomorrow. That's practice, qualifying and the shootout for round 8. And then on Sunday, 2 54-lap races with compulsory pit stop. Laps 5 to 37 is the CPS window. We're out of time by 51 seconds. As always, it's been a pleasure to have the company of Brad Jones with us. Thank you, Bradley.
Thank you, Neil.
how's the outro going compared to the intro? Not too bad, Gregory?
Yeah, it's okay.
Thank you.
Now, here is the news.
And thank you very much for your company here on Big Pond, the panel beaters tonight. Look out for round 8 of the championship and all of our wonderful highlights on the website across the course of the weekend. Thanks for your company. Look forward to your company when we go to Sandown for the 500k race in a few weeks. Meantime, a biggie this weekend at Oran Park. See you later.
It looks good through these.
Looks better. Bye.
Bye.